Peace and blessings, world, and welcome to another edition of Fresh Perspective, where we give you a fresh look on this week's hot topics. And boy, was this a hot week for college football. Number one and number two go down. So I guess the next question is who's in? But before we get started, I'm your host, Irvin Hawkins, and I'd like to first introduce the great orator and tactician, Mr. D. Burts. How you feeling today?
Roll Tide.
And also, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jeremy Flanagan, the Blueprint. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, feeling great. It's championship weekend, and I'm looking forward to this.
All right, and I like how D Burt started it off. Roll Tide. What happened? Mr. Saban is untouchable. What happened?
Well, every so often, the Auburn Tigers actually put a team together that feels very confidently about beating Alabama. I'm not talking about the team that made it to the national championship with the tip pass against the Dogs and the field goal return against about Cam Newton, that Auburn team. I'm talking about
Mm,
Ronnie Brown, Cadillac Williams, Carlos Rogers, Jason Campbell, that kind of team. And this team of this season, they actually felt going into the game that they don't need no emotion. It don't matter where they play the game at, Tuscaloosa or down there at their home stadium, they could win the game, and that's what they went out there and did. Felt like Bama all year have been not put in a position to be exposed. And also, Bama has been banged up, had a lot of injuries to some key players. And those key players were hurt. They were hurt right where they needed to be, and that was the linebacker position. Because Auburn is coming. They're not going to stop coming. They're coming right at you.
okay. And Blueprint DB mentioned some pretty special Auburn teams. Do you feel like this Auburn team is this special? They've knocked off two number ones. Matter of fact, they they could have knocked off three number ones this year. But how do you feel about this Auburn team? Is it Jason Campbell, Cam Newton special?
No, I'm not gonna go and say they're Cam Newton or uh, or Jason Campbell special, but what I am going to say, I got an interesting take on just this season as a whole. When you look at these teams and how we put so much emphasis on the playoffs, you have to win out every single game so you can be in. And it puts a lot of pressure on these players. And what I think has happened is these teams play so well and they put so much into each game to where they have to come out with the victory that they hit a wall towards this part of the season. I don't think that it's teams that's better than them or whatever the case may be. If you start with Miami, I think Miami hit a wall when they played Pittsburgh. Um, it was just one of those games where, like, hey, I mean, they done did so much for so long that you just eventually hit a wall as a team to where they fatigue may start to set in. I've seen the same thing with Georgia this year. I've seen the same thing with Clemson this year, earlier in the year. And I just think these teams that are powerhouses and that took losses like Georgia, um, like Auburn did this year, like Alabama, just taking this loss to Auburn. I don't think it's more so that Auburn's the better team or anything like that. I just think these teams just hit that wall to where, like, you know what? Everything is a gauntlet each game, and you getting teams best to where, like, sometimes you're just gonna not always be undefeated coming out of ball games. And I think Georgia, being the better team that play Auburn, Georgia's a way better team than Auburn this year. Georgia should have won that game. Same thing with Miami versus Pittsburgh. Miami should have won that game. Alabama, Auburn. Alabama really could have won that game. It's just certain
But
things that they didn't do.
in terms of that Pittsburgh game, it was if you would have said that Pittsburgh was going to win that game, you would have been in line with every major pundit that was talking about that game. Everybody said that was a possible game for Miami to lose. So I wasn't surprised when they lost it all. Now, D. Burt's and I was talking earlier. SEC champ is in. Big Ten champ, well, ACC champ is in.
Mhm.
Who are the other two participants? Who gets in?
Well, I want to talk. A little bit about what Jeremy said first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Jeremy, as far as the Auburn football team go, I think they were a little bit better than Alabama this season, based upon the strength of their defense. They have a miraculous front four, and those guys get after it. So we all know Alabama has been doing this for years. You control the line of scrimmage. It don't matter where you got behind it. And I think Auburn does a great job of that. And one thing too that Auburn has on their to their advantage this year is their quarterback. They got that transfer, and that young boy can throw the ball way better than any quarterback that they've had throwing the ball since Cam Newton left the team. Let's just be clear about that. They can make plays in the passing game. Calls are concerned. It's time. It's time. I do agree with you that we laid an egg against Auburn. We're a much better football team than that, and that's going to show this weekend. It's a good thing that.
Okay, so I need you to make a declaration. Who gets in? Give me 4 teams.
I'm going to tell you. Well, because there's a couple scenarios that how it's got to go in. Alabama is on the outside looking in. They need a little help though. They need Ohio State to beat Wisconsin. If Ohio State beat Wisconsin, then Alabama should get in over Ohio State. They should, but they really like Ohio State. They really like Ohio State, but Alabama should get back in as a one-loss team, as the best one-loss team in the country, back in at number 4. The Bulldog, the SEC champion is going, the ACC champion is going, or if Ohio State beats Wisconsin, they can get in, or if TCU beats Oklahoma, they can get in. But if Wisconsin wins and Oklahoma wins, hey, God bless and good night, Auburn. Auburn and Alabama. Maybe they can put y'all in another big bowl game and y'all swap it out one more time for the ratings. But that's all you're gonna get.
Okay, so Blueprint, I need you to put your professional reputation on the line. Who gets in?
I'm gonna have to go with what it is that DD just said. I mean, if Georgia knocks off Auburn, that to me that put Georgia at number 1. Clemson beating Miami will put them at number 2. And then this is where it gets tricky. Like he said, if Ohio State loses to Wisconsin, Alabama's out. Wisconsin is in. You gotta plug them in as a champion, right? Because they have a championship. They played that extra week to win a championship, and Alabama did not play. Then on top of that, you talk about the 4th spot. That 4th spot with Oklahoma. If Oklahoma do what we all think they're going to do to TCU, they're in as well.
What does the big
need Oklahoma to lose and for Ohio State to lose for us to see Alabama or Ohio State to get in?
If Ohio State lose, Wisconsin is in. They undefeated. They're in.
Absolutely. Now, does the Big Ten champion have as much cachet as like the SEC champion?
Yeah, because it's a Power 5 champion. It's a Power 5 champion. The Pac-12 not gonna have nobody. Pac-12 is usually one conference every year that don't have somebody. The Pac-12 ain't gonna have nobody. SEC champion is going. ACC champion is going. Big Ten champion is going.
Big Ten is going.
Big Ten champion going.
Okay, so if Miami beats Clemson, Miami's in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. They in.
Okay. Got you.
These teams,
And so any dark horses, like can my man Baker Mayfield get in there? That's my favorite quarterback.
Oh, he got one job. All you got to do is
win a championship game.
That's it.
I feel like Baker Mayfield is the most talented quarterback in the country, and I would love to see him in the playoff. I think he has that it factor. I think he has that grit about him, and I would love to see him get a chance to play for it all.
I tell you what I love to see. You talking about must-see TV? Miami Hurricanes go down there and beat Clemson, and then the Georgia Bulldogs beat Auburn. Ooh. Mark Richt versus his old team. Ooh.
And you know,
Oh
you
my
bring up a
God.
good point. Let's
Look, my
talk
boy
about
CP3
let's talk about Mark Rick, because all of the Mark Rick haters came out the woodwork. I mean, they was quiet all year long, but they came out the woodwork this week. I mean, Jeremy, how do you feel about Mark Rick? Is he just like he can't win the big one?
No, I'm not gonna say that because with us have well, formerly with us having Mark Richt as our football coach at Georgia, did we show up in big games when we needed to? Absolutely not. Was Mark Richt one of the main issues on why Georgia was the way Georgia was when we had some really good football teams? Absolutely, Mark Richt was a problem. But in Miami, he changed that. He changed that whole atmosphere in Miami. Got them guys believing that they're winners. Just because they took that loss, they still controlled their own destiny, even if they would have took that loss to Pittsburgh. So I really didn't think that loss really meant a lot to that Miami squad going into the game, knowing that they had already secured a spot in the ACC championship. So if they fell off, then it was okay for them because they still controlled their own destiny. But you can't blame Mark Richt for that loss. Now, what's going to be Mark Richt's issue is if Mark Richt don't show up come this Saturday against Clemson.
Okay. And real quick, Blueprint. I know you was hard on Mark Richt when he was in town. So is this a situation where Mark Richt can't win the big one, or it was just a trap game like everybody said?
I'm not going to say that. I think Miami still has a really good chance.
I was asking DB that question. I'm sorry, Blueprint. Go ahead.
Well, I think just to piggyback on what Jeremy said, these teams, it's hard to go undefeated, man. And these guys are not built for that kind of grit and that kind of mental discipline and that kind of focus that it takes to go undefeated. And besides, going undefeated is great. That's a great accomplishment. But we all know it's only the 72 Dolphins and Floyd Mayweather Jr. who can just say, without a doubt, I don't win them all. I mean, you got a couple national champions in college football that can say they went undefeated and won it all. But I feel like getting that one loss off the way.
Shout out the money team.
Yeah, I mean, getting that one loss off the way, that allows you to refocus, and what better time to refocus yourself as a football team than to go into, at the present time, the biggest game of the season. Now, I think Clemson should be the favorite in that game due to the experience, but Miami does have an opportunistic and turnover-ready defense, but they got to establish the run. If they can't run the ball on Clemson, they're going to get blew out. Like, they're going to get blew out. They have to establish the run.
Well, you know, I agree with you. I love to see Miami getting there. I love the turnover chain. I like the swag. Well, I won't say the S word, but I like the energy and the confidence that they have. I just love that chain, man, and the way people enjoy it when they put that thing on. So I would love to see Miami getting there as well. Personally, I would like to see Miami, Oklahoma, Georgia, and I'm gonna say Ohio State.
Oh my God! You want to see JT Barrett in there?
Ohio State.
I like
Ohio State.
I like Urban Meyer. So, but if Urban Meyer gets in, I want. If Urban Meyer gets in, I want some kind of way to Nick Saban get in, so Urban Meyer can see Nick Saban again and take care of him again. Because Urban Meyer is not scared of Nick Saban like everybody thinking.
Let me ask you, what is it that you all don't like about Wisconsin? What do both of you all not like about Wisconsin?
Wisconsin? They Wisconsin.
So you want Wisconsin then? Give me your four, Jeremy.
Yeah, I want Wisconsin. I want Wisconsin in, and I want them to play the Dogs, and we lock that shit up and get them out of here. That's what I want.
Right, okay. I do think they're going to get the 4th seed.
Okay, so Jeremy,
but I mean, I just want to know. My 4 is Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, and I think Alabama gets in there.
Woo! Okay. All right, so I think
Alabama gets in there.
How is Bama gonna get in there?
I'm gonna say because Ohio State. I think Ohio State is gonna pull off the upset and beat Wisconsin.
But what about Oklahoma?
Oh, I got Oklahoma in. I got Oklahoma, Clemson, Georgia, and then I got a 1-loss Alabama who's snuck their way on in.
Wow.
I think the committee loves
Alabama definitely need to be rooting for Ohio State this weekend, and they got to hope in rooting for Ohio State that the voters don't show too much love to Ohio State, because again, Bama's problem is they got the 63rd best schedule in the country. 63rd. They played Mercer 2 weeks.
Do you put a 2-loss Ohio State team that's a champion above a 1-loss Alabama team who's been? I mean, come on, they love Alabama.
They're gonna give them the strength of schedule. They got Michigan, who's ranked. They got Penn State, who's ranked. They lost to Oklahoma barely, and then they just turned right back around and beat Wisconsin, who's gonna be in the top 3. They're gonna have the strength of schedule. That's what they're gonna have.
And then if they're a champion, you gotta respect it. I'm gonna say go champion over non-champion every day.
Bama beat Mississippi State. Bama beat Mississippi State and LSU. Those are their power wins. That's it. And then guess what? If we lose, I mean, if Auburn loses to Georgia, then that loss to Auburn hurts Bama, because now they got a 3-loss team that they lost to.
Okay. Good point. Very, very excellent.
I will say this though. They better not let Bama in there, because Bama gonna come to win. They let them in there. Bama coming.
All right. So D. Birch, you're doing a lot of talking, but you still haven't given us your 4.
Oh well, let's go and do it right now. Dogs.
Okay.
I got Clemson, the most the experienced team out of all the teams in the playoff hunt right now. It's Alabama. They done been in there the last 2 years, strong.
Okay.
I got Wisconsin taking care of Ohio State. Everybody knows I do not like JT Barnett at all. and I got Baker Mayfield doing the unthinkable, man. In fashion to get it done.
Okay.
And it's still Heisman Trophy.
Okay. So you still feel like he's in the running?
Oh, all you gotta do is take care of business, and it's his. It's his. The running back for Penn State ain't gonna get it. He not playing. See, the extra game is gonna help him, and all he gotta do is win and dominate doing it. 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 rushing. Baker Mayfield, Heisman.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, and world, you are listening to Fresh Perspective.
You better hope Nick Chubb don't go for 200 though.
Ooh, that would be nice. That would be nice.
With 150.
All right, and so we coming to the end of this show. Just want to get your final perspective on this week. How did you feel about 1 and 2 going down and just everything happened at DB?
Well, this has been an entertaining college football season, to say the least. You had some new stars emerge. You had some great players show that they were still great. Auburn Tigers, Miami Hurricanes with the turnover chain. I mean, this has been a great season. I've enjoyed it. But now it's time to find out which teams are going to be competing for the champion. My dogs are still there. They got one job. Kirby Smart, you got to be the smartest guy this week. Live up to your last name and get it done for the dogs. Go dogs. Let's get it done.
All right.
Drill. Finish the drill, please.
Blueprint, I need you to finish the drill and give me your final perspective.
My final perspective, I want to speak directly to Jake from. Jake, you got to tune out all the noise. This moment, you've been built all year long for this moment. You showed up in Notre Dame when we needed you to show up in Notre Dame. You took that loss on the chin, just like you needed to take that smack on the chin to Auburn. You know what you're up against come the SEC championship game. And it's a lot riding on this game. We got a lot of seniors who I'm going to miss from this football team, who has the opportunity to do something special and what we all been waiting for as Georgia fans.
For a long time.
And for a long time. And I feel this atmosphere right here in this football team can do just that. Defensively, we look phenomenal.
Jerry, just to put it back on that before you go, Hawk, I think what I like about this Georgia team the most is that they weren't expected to be the world beaters that they're starting to become. Usually when we had the Matt Stafford and the No. Marino and the A.J. Green, or when we had Massaquoi, DJ Shockley, Danny Well, Craig Lumpkin, and them boys, David Green. Oh man, we knew we had the squad, and we'll lay an egg to Florida or somewhere
Right.
there, or lose a game to Ole Miss. These boys, nobody saw this coming, but it's here. We got to live up to it and take advantage of it.
And I just love the consistency after losing a game to Auburn. Football team come back the next couple of weeks and win against a Kentucky and win against a Georgia Tech. Usually it'll be one of the other games we'll end up losing whatever to have multiple losses going into the season. But I think they finished the year off strong headed into the SEC championship game, and now you know what you're up against. And like you talked about earlier, us playing. I'm glad we played Georgia Tech at the end of the year because of they're very physical up front. And they run the football, and that right there helps us pay attention to detail going into Championship Saturday on what it is we're going to see from our Auburn Tigers.
And I will say this from my final perspective. I know they under contract, so we won't see any changes for like the next 8 years. You've done a good job in giving us 4 for a playoff, but honest, I need 8. If you really want to see who the true champion is in college football, I need 8. I need 8 teams, the 4 power traditional bowls, make them championship bowls, and let the cream rise to the top. Give me 8 and give me a true champion. And once
Let
again,
me ask you this, Hawk. Hold on. You say you like 8, right?
Yes.
You say you like 8. So if we put in 8 teams right now, the best 8 teams in college football, it would be right now based upon just the rankings itself, the AP top 25. It would be Clemson, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Auburn, number 4, Alabama, Georgia, Miami, and Ohio State. Out of those 8 teams, would that'll be a really good playoff? Though, right?
You cooking with gas.
I really
with gas.
I like what y'all talking about, but I really hate the fact that college football, D1 college football, is the only level of football. We talking flag, we talking rec, we talking pee wee, we talking middle school, high school, Europe, rugby, NFL that do not have a 16-team playoff at least. These kids deserve to get playoff games, and I'm telling you, these bowl games make a lot of money for the colleges. But I'm telling you, the sport of college football would change if you have a home playoff game. It'll change everything.
You know what I think they're scared of?
Think about that, Hulk. You as a number 1 seed, and you a Penn State team on the outside looking in at number 9. You ain't lost for 2 games. You got a great season, and you got to go down to Bama and get a win.
Ooh. Right. That makes it all more. That would make sense. See, but the NFL, I don't think the NFL is going. I mean,
but you know that the guys that's making the money now, they got to figure out how they're going to continue to make that money in the playoff system.
Get a big team playoff in there. They figure out how to get a big team playoff in there, and you get a bowl game. I mean, you get a home game playoff, a road. Man, come on with the game. You got to go down to Florida State and get a win.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Been down there? You talking about a team like, just say USC, the best team in the country. You ain't never been out there, and you got to go out there to the Coliseum and get a win. Man, that
also give teams like that. I think that are really good. Central Florida, who's undefeated. Yeah. That's a really good football team. That gives teams like that an opportunity to be able to fight for a national championship.
That's it. Right? That's it. That'll give them a shot.
That would be awesome. And this is Fresh Perspective. We passionate about our sports, so we giving y'all some extra love on this college week, because it was a very special week. It was a very strong week, and we all would love to see 8. I wonder how y'all feel about it. Drop a comment at the bottom of this video. Would you like to see 8, or you prefer 4? But once again, it's Fresh Perspective, and we signing off. We'll see y'all next time. Peace and blessings.